150. In New York, he was eligible for 156. That was the maximum allowed. It would have been 140% off his salary in 2025-26 starts in 26-27. There's a trade kicker in there, which certainly could come into play. There's a player option. There is a 6-month restriction. So from the time Bridges signs the contract, which probably will be either on Friday or Saturday, it will be 6 months. He will be trade eligible before the February 5th trade deadline for Mikal Bridges. How that impacts New York, it's kind of a two-step process. We saw last year Jalen Brunson took a significant discount. Bridges took $6 million off. Every penny matters when we're dealing with the second apron here. When you look at New York, roughly $19 million below the second apron next year. How does that impact Mitchell Robinson? I've said this before, and I keep on banging the drum, and people say, where can we read about the second apron? Go on, there's videos about it. We've written articles. The second apron impacts you if you are trying to acquire players outside of your own core. If you love Mitchell Robinson, then go out and extend Mitchell Robinson. If you don't love Mitchell Robinson, then basically you're going to be left with the probably $6 million by then, tax mid-level exception, and you can go out and certainly make a trade. You can dip your toe into the second apron, or maybe both feet in the second apron for a year or two. You can do that because remember, for New York salaries, eventually some of them are going to start. Josh Hart will eventually come off the books here. You will get that flexibility. As I said, if you want to sign Mitchell Robinson, you can go out and do that. You can certainly look at where they are with Karl Anthony Towns, who's also extension eligible this summer. He's got a $62 million player option. Can lower that number perhaps in that year, which is 27-28, and then extend for more guaranteed money. I wouldn't get caught up about the second apron in New York. I really wouldn't, because you've got basically your 8 core players or 7 core players under contract next year, and then you have to make a decision on Mitchell Robinson. And if you go in the second apron, you go in the second apron. If you think your team can win a championship, as I said, you don't want to be there for 3 years. And with how contracts are structured now, you're going to be able to get back out of there. Another thing with Mikal Bridges, he becomes the 51st player who has signed an extension since the CBA has started. When Draymond said the CBA has basically limited free agency, there is a point to that, because how the rules are, you can extend more flexible extension rules. You can guarantee more money right now. Mikal Bridges would not have been able to get the amount of $150 million if we're under the old CBA, because it was a 120% increase. The inability to not go into free agency, signing for cap space is extremely hard these days. The other thing too, of course, is the ability to negotiate with your own free agents when the season, the NBA Finals is over. That's why we see Kyrie and James Harden and Naz Reid and Julius Randle. Those guys are off the board when we get to June 30th. So there is a point towards Draymond. I will counter that point that the second apron has not eliminated free agency. I think we're talking about two different things here. So Bridges becomes the 51st player. I would expect 52 and 53 to happen this weekend. 52 is Luka, who is extension. It's funny, we have circled August 2nd since he was traded. That's when the trade became official. But did you know that Luka has been extension eligible since the offseason has started? He can only extend for 3 years, 155 because of the 6-month restriction. Starting on August 2nd, Luka will have 2 options to look at. And when Shams breaks extensions and we talk about extension, it's a projection of what the salary cap is going to be. Those are not firm numbers. That can certainly be fluid. He will be eligible to extend for up to 4 for $229 million. If the salary cap, if the increase goes at 7%, which likely it could, that extension will be 4 for $222. The number is fluid. There's not a set number that's referenced in the contract when Lucas signs it. It's not going to say 49.5 or 51.1. It's a percentage of the salary cap, and sometimes you can put up to 140%. So when you're looking at Luka, you can either do the 4-year option 4-year option. The 4-year contract, which is going to be in that 222 to 229. Okay, that's the max allowed. Or you can go short term. Short term would be 3 years, projected to be 165. Why short term? And this is not to freak out Laker fans, is because how the max salaries works is based on years of service. There's 3 buckets. There's 0 to 6, which is 25%. That's Chet and Jalen Williams. There is the 7 to 9 years of service, which is Luka and De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young in that group. That's 30% of the salary cap. And then when you get to 10 years of service, it's those supermax guys, but it's 10 years of service also. It's 35% of the cap. So if Luka did a 3-year deal with a player option in year 3, that would be in the 2028 offseason when he has 10 years of service. So he would be able to sign as a free agent for 35% of the cap with the Lakers or another team. With the Lakers, the number is staggering. It's roughly 5 years, $417 million. The last year is $95 million. The number it just pops at you here. So I would say if I was a betting man and if I was advising Luka, I would probably go short term with the player option. And then basically you'll be able to get everything and then some what you lost when Dallas traded you. The next day is De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is eligible, same numbers as Luka. They're both in that 7 to 9 years of service range. 4 years up to $229 million. Potentially could be 222. First year salary, which would be next year, 26-27, would be between $49 and $51 million. That is the last year Victor Wembanyama is on his rookie scale contract. Victor is extension eligible next year. What does that mean as far as from the Spurs perspective? You would have a little bit of cap space potentially in the summer of 2026 before Victor's number kicks in. De'Aaron Fox is a really good player. Is he a top 25 player? I don't think so. Is he a max player? That's for the Spurs to determine. Would he be a max player if you already had 2 max? If he was in Denver, would he, based on their finances, would he be a max player? No, I don't. I think you have to be careful handing out $51, $52 million contracts to really good players who are top starter level or who are not an all-star. And that's how I kind of stand. I'm not going to crush San Antonio if they don't give De'Aaron Fox a max contract, but I think everything is kind of circumstantial. Circle back a little bit to the Lakers real quick, and we'll put out some graphics when Luka does extend. Summer of 26 could have potentially $50 million in cap space. Summer of 27, nearly $100 million in cap room. This is without, certainly without LeBron on there. So they'll be able to shape that roster however they want to do. So those are the 2 extension guys to keep an eye on. Certainly the article that we have up on ESPN.com. And then the other thing, of course, is the restricted players, which is Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey, Quentin Grimes, and Cam Thomas. Kuminga, of course, because basically Golden State has not signed anyone, it continues to be the highlight out of the group here. And Jonathan Kuminga will have a decision. He posted a picture. He said, bet on me. There is that $8 million qualifying offer that's sitting there. That will sit there until October